So what I'm actually going to be melting has some value to it. It looks like a load of garbage when you first take a glance at it, but it is actually sterling silver. This had been in my scrap pile probably for a year or two. It had actually gotten muddy and crusty. I actually had to clean it up because you don't want to try and melt stuff covered with dirt. Also, I found out that there was a couple pieces of silver-plated brass in there. And how you tell the difference is you hit the stuff on the grinder. And if you see silver in color, it's silver. But if you see yellow, it's going to be brass. So I found like maybe 3 pieces of silver-plated brass that had been in here. But the rest of this is all silver. And I've gone ahead and I've weighed it up on my scale. And I think there's about a poundish here of silver. Now, you could sell this just as is, scrap silver lot on eBay. But, people are funny, they would look at it and say, well, that looks like garbage, but, the man says it's silver. Maybe I'll bid it up to $50. But if I turn this into a block of silver bullion, it could be worth hundreds of dollars, maybe $200–300. Time will tell. But that's what I want to do here is melt this down and create one chunk of silver. And to do that, we have the melting furnace. Right now it's sitting on top of this workbench. I am going to take it and put it down on that piece of steel there. That's a piece of stainless steel. And you don't want to, I don't advise melting up here with stuff at waist height. Especially if something was to slip and fall, it makes it harder to jump back. And, God forbid there be any splatter or anything like that. But I think it's going to be safer down on the ground. So let's go ahead and put it down on the ground. Now in the video prior to this, I did the unboxing and I did a test firing. So I am mildly confident that I could go ahead and melt something. Let's see, put that there. I have a ladle here for what they call scooping off any dross. That's basically the dirt that floats to the top. So what I need to do with this ladle is, it was actually up at the antique mall. I was trying to sell it for 20 bucks. I'd cleaned it up, wire brushed it, and I actually clear coated it. So I think I'll hit it with my handheld propane torch and make sure I get some of the clear burnt off of it. Just sounds like a smart thing to do. Plus, you should preheat anything that's going to come in contact with the molten metal, because things like cast iron can have moisture in them. Cast iron is a porous metal. If this had been outside in the rain for, and then I just grabbed it and stuck it in a pot of molten metal, I might get a reaction out of there, of explosion. So, should always heat your cast iron up, even if you just set it on top of the furnace before you actually, with the furnace running, before you dip it inside the molten metal. All right, I think I did a decent job of de-clear coating this thing. So let me go set this down on the platform here. And let me show you what I'm going to be using to pour my molten metal into. I think it's the perfect object. I have here this Christmas tree stand. It is made of cast iron. It's an antique, but it's pretty much worthless. Its value might be 20 bucks if you could possibly sell it to somebody, because there's a lot of them out there. I think I tried last year to sell it online, but there were no takers. So I am going to take the legs off of it. Let go. And use this to pour my melted metals into. And then when it cools, you flip it over and I'll have a nice cone-shaped ingot. I know the stands, the legs were holding it up, but that's not the best way to hold it up. I'm just going to get something round to plop this into. So let me go find something to hold this in place. The legs are too janky and you can't pick it up, especially if you were doing multiple pours. You know, that would get time consuming because the legs are attached and you'd have to wait for this to totally be cool to pick it up. But let's go find something to support the mold cup. Okay, what I have found is this ladle type thing, stainless steel. And if I take my cast iron ingot mold, it fits in there real nice. So I'm not worried about it being super accurate as far as super level. That's not an issue. So that's going to hold it in place. Like I said, even this, I probably want to try and preheat it either with my hand torch or just by setting it up here. And that'll dispense any moisture that's in it. Although right now I'm fairly confident it's fairly dry, but you know, always practice safety measures even when they're not needed, so you won't forget to do them when they are needed. Now, one of the other hurdles I'll have to overcome is to get this scrap metal into the melting pot. It has to be able to pass through this hole. So right now, a lot of this stuff is just too big to do that. So I'm going to have to decrease its size. So I'm going to have to either be able to fold it up, stomp on it, beat it with a hammer, or cut it in smaller pieces. So let me downsize some of this stuff. Now, silver is a soft metal. A lot of people don't know that, you know, brass, aluminum, silver, I suppose if it came down to it, you could cut gold. We're looking up at the sky here. You could even cut gold on a radial arm saw, a table saw, circular saw. And so I assume with that information, that tells me I should be able to nip this silver in half, some of it, with these shears. These are for PVC pipe, so. And success. That looks like it would fall through the hole over here. Yes, it will. So I've got to cut this one a couple of times. I'm not liking this. I think I have another pair. So let's see if the other pair is any smoother than this. This one, the blade doesn't retract automatically. Now let's just work with it. So I have to pull the blade up with my fingers right now. Come on, Pepe. All right. And cut this one in half. Now it's actually going to be harder with some of the larger flat pieces. I'm thinking I can just roll them up and pound them with a hammer, make them more tubular, and just feed them down like a straw. So let me go get a hammer. Well, I thought it kind of fitting that since I'm dealing with a precious metal here, why not use another precious metal to beat them into shape. Check this out, solid copper hammer. All right, so like I said, I'm going to try and fold these up into something a little more narrow. This might take a little while. All right, if I fold this over one more time, I think it's going to fit through there. And that will fit into the kiln. Okay, how about this piece? I'm thinking I can get all this silver in the one melt. There's no need to pour 2 ingots. I don't think there's a demand for smaller ingots. I think a pound is about standard. I mean, I wouldn't want to go up 2 pounds. I'd rather sell somebody 2 1-pound ingots than try and sell 1 2-pound ingot. Because a lot of people are buying, I guess, silver for crafts, silversmiths, jewelers. I'm sure some people are probably buying it as a investment. But, you know, this is close. Yeah, that'll go. All right. This looks like it used to be a bud vase. This bud vase is for you. I'm just excited to go ahead and do this because I'm actually looking forward to maybe getting my initial investment on the melting furnace back by selling this scrap silver. And then after that, I think I'll start maybe getting into copper and brass melts. Now, ideally, now that popped right off. I'm just looking at it to try and verify that it's still a silver piece, and it looks to be. I'm going to scratch it on the pavement here. Yeah, from what I can tell, it's silver. You can watch a lot of these old-timey antiques. They're definitely silver plate. You know, we used to watch the movies growing up, and people were breaking into houses in the movies and trying to steal the silverware. Well, when it was sterling, yeah. That means sterling is another name for solid. But silver plate, you know, there's no market for stealing and trying to resell silver plate. Well, this is going fast. I should have my gloves on. They're right over there on the workbench, but I guess, like I said, I'm excited. Okay. I said I collected this silver just from probably doing clean-outs. You know, I used to be paid to empty out a house a lot of times. I didn't too often buy things that were silver unless I saw a sterling mark on them. That's going to be a hard fit. I might need another tool. Put this in the vise in the shop and whack it, bend it over. So between that and these candlesticks, we're working on close to a pound of silver here. So let me run this back to the vise and bend it, and then I'll be back out and we'll continue. All right, after putting it in the vise and doing some pounding on it, I've managed to turn it into a silver turd. I did notice some markings on it. It says 833JS. I'm not sure what that means. If it was 995, to me that would mean it's sterling. All right. Well, let's fire it up. So we can leave the crucible in there when we fire it up. Turning on my propane tank. Now I'm turning on the gas to the burner unit. Ooh, and that does go poof. So you go watch you don't lose some eyebrows there. All right, we're gonna let that stew for, I guess, about 10 minutes. Oh, I guess you can go ahead and you can drop stuff in it right now. You're just not gonna get much of a immediate reaction, but just for sake of it, let's go ahead and drop this. Well, you should have gloves on because the heat's coming out of there is pretty intense. You don't want to get a first or second degree burn on your fingers. So that went straight down into the crucible. I mean, I can barely see it. I'm putting the small things in first. I want to get a good puddle going inside there before I add the silver turds. Well, a watch pot never boils, but let's warm this up. Don't want to cover up the hole. Don't matter if it touches a little bit, but I don't want it to fall off. Just so I can't, anybody would say, well, didn't you preheat your ingot pot? I'll say, yes, I did. And I believe this disc is to set the crucible on when not in use. After you're poured, you don't want to return it to the kiln. Ideally, I would have some kind of stirring rod. I found this. I'm not sure if this is ideal or not. It's fiberglass, so I'll have to do a little homework on that. I know when I hit it with a torch, it got a little hairy, so I don't know what that means if you dip it into molten stuff, but we're just starting out with this melting pot business, so it's going to take us a while before we have everything or ducks in a row. So I should note the time, but you guys got my phone working as a camera, so I can't see the time. I'd like to clock the minutes, but let me duck my head inside and see what time it is. The clock on the wall says it's almost 20 to 12. So if I go another 5 minutes, assuming that I don't see any action just by leaning over and looking. Right now, I can still see my silver pieces are still intact right now. So we're kicking this off with a silver melt, and I'll probably move over to a copper melt eventually. I know I've got a lot of copper and brass. Aluminum, I got a lot of aluminum, just wonder if I should have a bigger kiln for aluminum, but we shall see what we see when we see it. Now I'm starting to see a red glow. So let me take my ingot mold off. I'm sure it's moisture free by now. Put it in that holder. Drop this wafer in. Any moment now. I guess I should set up a wind blocker just to get the most efficiency out of my melting pot. Because with the wind blowing on it, I mean, it cools the pot off to some degree, pun intended, but it also makes it use more fuel. So I'm going to set this here. Eventually, maybe I'll have a screen, but I can hear the flame puffing back and forth with the breeze sometimes. But all right, well, let's take a break here. All right. I'm starting to see some breakdown of the material inside the kiln. So I'm going to start adding some more. I guess we could actually use the tongs as a implement. Because I know you probably want to avoid splashdowns when you drop them. You want to. So I can just lower that in there and poof. She's starting to melt. I already got my first scorch mark on the top here. Oh yeah, that piece is curling up just like wax. Now I would appreciate anybody that could give me any insight and advice, you know, what happens if I accidentally get a little bit of copper in there or a little bit of brass in there? What does it do to the purity of my silver? Is there a way of even melting to keep the two at different levels, like oil and vinegar? I don't want to create any alloys here. I want my melts to be pure. Yep, there's definitely a puddle in there. Now, unlike baking a cake, I don't think your temperature can be too high for something like this. I don't think you're going to burn the silver or the brass or whatever. There goes one of those silver turds. I guess I could use a steel rod to stir it because the melting point of the steel is so much higher, but I don't believe there's any way you can melt steel in here. All right, well, it's going fast here. Let's get this to the top of the item so to avoid a splashdown. Just barely fits. Come on. there it goes. I know after I smashed it all up with a hammer, it certainly looked like a lot less, but like I say, it's the weight, not the volume that we're after. So I have weighed this and initially and calculated it was a pound. And there's a piece of sliding under the deck here. Looks like the bottom of a tuna can. See, now it's way too, I can't get near it. Right here my hand starts to burn. So it's either tongs or gloves. But tongs been working. Well, you know, it's windy. It wasn't when I started this, but it's too late to turn back now. I might have hem-hawed about actually doing a melt out here with the wind. Well, I think that was everything. Oh wait, there's a piece. It's definitely like a pool of lava in there. So I would love to have a stirring stick. I guess I should have watched a refresher on YouTube. I mean, do you dare open this with the flame on? Yeah, I don't see why. You can't get near it, but you can open it. I definitely want to turn the flame off to remove the crucible. I'll let you see how hot it is in there. It's definitely orange. Oh yeah, that silver looks like it's done. It's like circulating. The bottom perks up and rolls over to the sides. So I'm going to shut this unit off. Come over here to the propane tank. Big red dial it came with. It's off. Now, if I grab my tongs, lifting, very silvery. Oh, I want you to be able to see this. Let's get you in focus. Whoa, let's not be careless. Okay. I just stepped on the base plate, but still want to avoid doing that. This silver is looking good. Oh, I heard a little sizzle when I dumped that in there, which tells me there was a fraction of moisture. Okay, I set my... Now I know some guys actually go as far as to have different crucibles for different metals. Oh, I just set a leaf on fire. Well, it was suicide. It blew itself into the crucible there. It's already hardened. And there it is. my silver ingot. Looks like a lump of lead, but that's a silver ingot. A lot of guys like to have cold water to drop stuff in. I've seen some even have ice cubes with it. Now, thing is, my crucible has a little skim bit of silver on the inside of it. So I don't know if that's good silver, bad silver, dross. Not sure how to remove that, but I did read something about scraping it out. Well, let's go weigh the silver ingot and see what how much silver we have here. I know it was a nice mold. I like that Christmas tree stand for the effect it's given me on this cone-shaped hunk of silver. Now I can set it on my scale over here because my scale is stainless steel on top, and this thing is cold rather significantly. You can see right now we're at zeros. Put the lump of silver on there. 9.5. I told you guys we had pretty much a pound here. So I would have liked to have been like 1.01 or something so I could swear it was a pound of silver. So, all right, well, thanks for sticking with me while we did this. It was fun, and maybe I'll bring you along on another one of my melts. Maybe when I do some copper. So now I got to figure out how to clean that crucible up. But thanks for watching, and give me a pointer. Don't need any criticism just yet. You can see if I've been doing this for years, but just pointers. Like and subscribe while you're at it too. Thanks, everybody.